The Taysom Hill experience was a fun one for the Cowboys defense. 4 picks last night. Did they expose the Saints' dual-threat quarterback in the process? Somebody's laughing. MJ10 getting ready to face the Buffalo Bills for the first time. Can the Patriots make a statement on Monday night? And LeBron James back for the Lakers tonight. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolfe alongside a very giddy Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, Kevin Wildes. Nick, all right, Lakers with LeBron, perhaps best team out west. Can we go that far?
The Suns currently hold that title, but I'm more. Can you guys smell that? Something awful fishy was going on.
Fishy.
My guy was right. Was quite fishy. Vindication for the king.
The old
Wild
false
sticking
positive.
to the woodshed.
All right, we'll get to all that.
Wildes just crushed
Start with
it.
Thursday night
just
football.
crushed
Right.
it, Jenna.
The big apology coming.
Cowboys
Don't wait for it.
Saints. We called this a must-win yesterday for Dallas, having lost 3 of 4 coming in. And they did just that. They showed up. Dak Prescott threw for 238 yards and a touchdown. Tony Pollard broke off a 58-yard touchdown run, and that defense took care of the rest, picking off Taysom Hill 4 times, 3 of them in the final 7 minutes with the Saints down 10 and with no choice, obviously, but to pass the ball. 27-17 the final from the Superdome. All right, Nick, did last night convince you the Dallas Cowboys are back to being Super Bowl contenders?
No, it did not, Jenna. Beating a team quarterbacked by an H-back in less than impressive fashion did not convince me. I'm still highly concerned about the Cowboys' offense, both phases of it, the pass game and the run game. The pass game, Dak had a few marvelous throws. The one throw over the middle on a key third down to CeeDee Lamb, I still don't know how he fit that in. And the touchdown pass in the corner to Gallup was a good throw and an even better catch. Just a perfect catch. I thought Troy and Joe were going to pass out with how impressed they were. I mean, this is an unbelievable play. An unbelievable play. With that said, the passing offense, Broussard, still, to me, left a lot of meat on the bone. Bad pick late when they could have, or in the second half when they could have put the game away. So that's a little concerning. But I'm even more concerned with the rushing attack. And if you didn't watch the full game, you're like, Nick, 24 for 146. But that's misleading. 33 of those yards were on a pass. The throw to CeeDee Lamb that just happened to go a half yard backwards, so it's called a run. And then CeeDee Lamb did amazing stuff to get down to the 1. So you can scratch that off the board. Tony Pollard had one amazing run on the sweep for 58 yards, this play here. But aside from that, he was 6 carries for 13 yards. Zeke did nothing until the final run of the game. Until the final run of the game where the Saints had missed the onside kick and they were defeated. He had 10 yards on it. Aside from that, he was 12 for 35. And so Dallas, I understand we can't take away this run here, Broussard. It's a brilliant play by Tony Pollard.
Right.
But when they're at their best, they're consistently getting 6 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards, and they weren't able to do that. Dak still looks to me a little shaky post-injury, and so no, last night did not make me regain massive confidence about their ability to go on a long playoff run.
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you said, Nick, and my answer is no. I thought last night was like walking through a desert and finding a bottle of water. It satisfies you, it quenches your thirst, but you still got a long way to go, right? And that's what the Cowboys were. They needed this. We talked about yesterday how badly they needed this victory. It did convince me that they'll hold off and win the NFC least. All right, it convinced me of that.
Sure.
But anything beyond that they can beat a Tampa Bay, beat a Green Bay, not to mention some of the other contenders in the NFC, no, I am not convinced because, and we'll get to Taysom Hill later, but I honestly, guys, and he's a third-string quarterback, all right? And they were without, I mean, people don't know how injury-depleted New Orleans was. Without their two starting tackles, obviously without their best player, now Alvin Kamara, best offensive player. Michael, their receiver, he's been out all year.
Michael Thomas been out all year.
And so, yeah. And so I also don't think that Taysom Hill, even though I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, I don't think he throws 4 interceptions if he doesn't injure his finger early in the game. And I know it had to be tough throwing with that splint. I'm not making an excuse for him, but this is a 10-point game midway through the fourth quarter against an injury-depleted team with a third-string quarterback who's got a bad foot and a bad finger, and you barely beat him, or, you don't beat him impressively. So I'm with you, Nick. It almost seems like Kellen Moore and the Cowboys are afraid to run Tony Pollard more because they think he'll get injured. I don't know if they just feel like they got to give Zeke more carries. He really looks like he needs a week off. I know this will be a long break for them, about 10 days. Yep. So that may help him, but he's doing nothing with that bad right knee. Pollard deserves more carries, but again, are they skittish about giving them to him because they think he's too small to handle it? But Wild's not overly impressed, but just what the doctor ordered for the Cowboys as far as getting that W.
All right, so here's the thing about Taysom Hill. The whole idea of Taysom Hill is rooted in, what's Taysom Hill going to do? Is he going to throw it? Is he going to run it? Is he going to hurdle you? Is he going to fumble it? Who knows? And once his finger got hurt, everybody knew what was going to happen. He was either going to underthrow the ball and the Saints wide receivers are going to have to pick it up off the carpet, or he was going to run. And Broussard, you mentioned this. This is a 10-point game. I want to say it's a great play by Micah Parsons. At the same time, this is just a terrible play call from Sean Payton. At this time, it is 3rd and 2 at the Dallas 26. There's about 10 million people watching this game. And Troy mentioned, he's like, I think Taysom is going to run it here. Every single person, all 10 million people watching this game say, you know what? Taysom is not throwing. One of those 10 million people, Micah Parsons. This turned into a punt. This turned into we're driving to get a touchdown, Nick, into a punt. It's a great play by Micah Parsons, but I felt like Taysom was so limited. It's hard for me to give any accolades to the Dallas defense.
Taysom was so Taysom.
Don't rip that. This was a good drive.
Taysom.
This was a good drive.
Stop it. The reason Taysom Hill is not a quarterback is because, right, Wilds, but because a higher percentage of his dropbacks end in either a sack or a turnover than any other quarterback in the league. That was true when he went 3-1 as a starter that you were all fascinated with. It's always been true. He takes the killer sack more often than any quarterback in the league because he thinks he's still at BYU and he thinks he's the best athlete on the field. You're not. You're not going to get past Micah Parsons, everybody. Nice, you're dead there. And by the way, maybe everyone thought this was a run. He was supposed to pass it. He's got his tight end over the middle for the first down. This is a passing play, and he takes points off the board. Taysom's awful. Like, by the way, you're right, we're going to talk about Taysom later, but to quote Colin Cowherd, I won the argument. Okay, America? Taysom Hill is a mediocre running back. He is not. Broussard called him a third-string quarterback. That's nice of Broussard. Maybe a third-string quarterback. So, and that's why it's hard to grade the Cowboys when the other team is calling a fan out of the stands to play quarterback for him. How valuable is the win really? And so here's what I feel very confident in, Broussard. Because you said it, the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. We are barreling towards one of the most impactful, important wildcard weekend games of the last decade. Rams at Cowboys. The loser of that game, it will have franchise-changing repercussions because the Rams are not going to catch the Cardinals in their division, so they will be the top wild card. Dallas, I believe, is going to be the worst of the 4 division winners. So you're going to have 4-5 Rams at Cowboys. Whichever of those teams, which really believed a month ago we're going to the Super Bowl, doesn't even make it out of round 1, Broussard, is going to have some real soul-searching about how they get over the hump just to get to the actual hump that is the Super Bowl.
Well, and here's the thing, Nick, and we'll get to, you were a little hard on Taysom. All right, just settle down a little bit. All right, you were tough on him. We'll get to him later. But the Cowboys, the thing is, the Rams, I think this is who the Rams are. The defense, for whatever reason, is not as good as it was a year ago. And offensively, they overrated Matt Stafford. He's good. He's very good. Right. But they overrated him. Dallas is the team that'll look in the mirror. If they lose to the Rams in what you said will be that first round, matchup, they're going to be the ones to look in the mirror and say, we blew it. We shouldn't have even been here in this game. We had a light schedule. We got a horrible division. And why are we playing, against the top wild card? So they're going to look back with regrets. Even more so, I think, than the Rams as far as just this season. The Rams will regret all the draft picks they gave up for the future.
All right, well, it was a win for Dallas last night. 5 straight losses now for the New Orleans Saints, who may or may not have a question at quarterback yet again. Let's talk about a team that's won 4 in a row. Knicks Chiefs, should they be on upset alert Sunday night against the Denver Broncos? Little upset alert on a Friday morning. First things first. Time for a little upset alert. We got a full slate of goodness. Week 13 in the NFL. Time to see who's getting put on upset alert. Could it be Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? They are back off the bye this week. They are hosting the Broncos. The Chiefs have won 11 straight versus the AFC West. And they're favored to win again Sunday night. Would be an upset if they didn't. But Chris Broussard, which team should be on upset alert this weekend?
I am not going with the Chiefs, Jenna. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals, who host the Chargers. All right. Now, the Bengals burned me last week. I put them on upset alert against the Steelers, and obviously they bulldozed Pittsburgh. All right. But I'm not sure the Bengals can handle prosperity. They're new money. Okay. They get giddy after a few good wins. All right. And last time they had a great division win, beat Baltimore badly, scored 41 points. They followed up with a loss to the Jets. The Jets. And then they got blown out by the Browns. The Browns, all right? So now I think the Chargers might be able to come in there and beat the Bengals. The Chargers need a victory. Nick, you talk about how Josh Allen's like a roller coaster. Justin Herbert's becoming like that too. Okay, he's been 2 up and down, but I think he's going to be up this weekend. So the Chargers, who've lost 4 of 6, if they have any playoff hopes, they need to get a win. I'm putting the Bengals on upset alert.
I think that is, I don't know if I agree with the pick, but that might be the most intriguing of all the games Sunday, because both of these teams need to make the playoffs just to get the experience. Both of these teams have shown at their best they can compete with anybody, but they've both been inconsistent. I'm really interested in that game. Now, I am going a little deeper in the bag as far as upset alert, a full touchdown underdog. And I know what you're thinking, America. Nick, your picks were an abomination last week. That's true. But I also damn near nailed Cowboys by 17 on the button last night. If not for that foolishness, Deontay Harris, nobody wanted to tackle him late in the game. So we're hot, baby. We're hot over the last 12 hours. Bears. Maybe upsetting the Cardinals. Nick, the Bears over the Cardinals? Wow. Did you watch Thanksgiving? Oh, I watched. The Bears maybe playing to the level of the competition. They play poorly against the Lions, barely win. However, their previous 2 games, Steelers and Ravens, both of those games come down to the final seconds. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, Kyler's been out a month, a little rusty, maybe looking ahead to the big matchup coming up with the Rams. All of these things scream to me that the Bears are going to be in this late. Now, will they be able to close the deal? I can't guarantee you that, America. I can't. But as Broussard has very cogently taught us, this is an alert. I am alerting you that the Bears might upset the Cardinals for the biggest upset of the weekend. So that's what I'm going with. Bears potentially over the Cardinals, trying to continue the hot streak from last night. 1 game in a row, baby.
Very measured. Okay, mine is not an alert.
That was good.
Mine is an investment opportunity for you and your family. Bills on upset alert when the Patriots come to town. Here's why. Bills, solid record. They've played well. They've crushed the tomato cans on their schedule. They have a few shutouts, locked a lot of teams down. They're only 1-3 against teams over 500, which the Patriots are. Who are the Patriots coached by? Oh, the adult GOAT, the senior GOAT, Bill Belichick. Bills beat Bill Belichick 2 times in a row last year. Do you think you can get over on Bill Belichick 3 times in a row? You think you can go into your bag of tricks and pull another trick out to beat Bill Belichick? I don't know. Last time Bill Belichick was beat 3 times in a row by one team was the Giants and Eli Manning in 2008. That had a little bit of Manning magic. Reason number 3. Mac Jones is just going to drink and dunk. Okay. Maybe a little short passing game that he's masterful at will be helpful when this is the weather report in Buffalo. This is from Kevin Roth at Roto Grinders. It's a combination of gambling and weather. Early indications in Buffalo that we're looking at temps below freezing, 20-mile-per-hour winds, and snow showers. So I think that weather report would favor Mac Jones, short passing attack, and a strong running game from the Patriots. So there you go. Well, now what do you mean?
So
now let's hear this one. Because you grew up in Florida?
You were so close. Well, yeah. McCorkle is from Jacksonville, went to college in Alabama. Yeah. I'm just curious. Do you think he has ever, honestly, in his life, played a football game in the snow? In a windy, snowy, below freezing. Do you think he's ever played a single game in those conditions? Because I know roller coaster Magic Mountain Josh Allen has. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. Yeah. But he's done it. He went to college in Wyoming. He lives in Buffalo. This guy's from Jacksonville, Alabama to New England. You're not worried about that?
Well, just for the record, I'm going to break a little news here. When Mac Jones was drafted by the Patriots, it was like the Rocky training montage because you didn't see him. Like, where's Mac Jones? Actually went up to the North Pole and trained for 2 weeks. No social media, nothing. Just training like Rocky in the North Pole. So I'm not worried about it. I didn't know which Rocky, so thank you. Rocky 4.
Good job.
So there you go. Broke a little news.
Thank you. So the only scene from the entire series that stuck with me. All right, talk about another quarterback who can do it in all kinds of conditions except when you're playing the Dallas Cowboys. Taysom Hill, did the Dallas defense expose him with 4 picks last night? Diagnose it with Mike Vick next, first things first.
Wilds, how did you not know which Rocky? The best Rocky.
Cowboys Saints kicking off Week 13 last night. All eyes on Taysom Hill. Saints QB1 in this one. Yeah, he passed for 264 yards. Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he ran for over 100 yards, but there were some accuracy issues late. Never good when the other team catches 4 of your passes.
You think?
Hill turned the ball over 4 times last night. I'm being kind. How do you grade a dual threat quarterback? Well, you ask another dual threat quarterback to do it for you. Mike Vick, our dual threat QB1. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Help us out. I know you were excited to see Taysom last night. You called him your boy. Put a grade on his Thursday night performance against the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, let me hear this.
Yeah, Jenna, regardless of what I'm about to say, that Taysom Hill is still my little homie, and I'm in his corner, ride or die, without a doubt. And I gave Taysom, I gave him a D last night, and I know, Nick, like, why didn't you give him a D minus, or why did you give him an F? Because the man still ran for 100 yards, and outside of Lamar Jackson, you don't see guys rushing for 100 yards in the National Football League, over 350 yards in total offense, but he still had the picks. He had the picks. 2 of them, his arm got hit, so it might not have been his fault. You can argue that. But the other 2 was solely his fault and probably cost them the game because they had opportunities to win. There were accuracy issues, and it looked like the plan worked for a while, and then they just got astray. So Taysom never got comfortable. Was playing against one of the top defenses in the league who has proven himself over the last couple of weeks. You know, had some up and down weeks, but Taysom, he struggled last night, and he had some opportunities to win the game without a doubt, and he just didn't pull through in the clutch, and for that reason alone, I'm going to give him a D. But this is only his first start of the season. You know, he still got a long way to go in terms of preparation and feel good.
Well, maybe. Or maybe it was, grand opening, grand closing, first start, last start. Hope you saw the one performance because there ain't going to be any more. Who knows? Here's the thing about when Mike called Taysom a dual threat, and I know he's your guy, and this pains me to do. I apologize. The reason I push back is the reason, when Mike Vick, the original ultimate dual threat, was called that, because he's quarterback who can also run. That's the dual. Taysom's a single threat. He can only run. We take anytime a quarterback runs, we call him a dual threat because we're like, well, obviously they can throw as well, but Taysom can't. And he's never been able to, which is why Mike's going to expect me to give him a D- or an F. I am not going to give him a D- or an F. I am not going to give him a grade because if you accidentally stumble into the wrong classroom, they don't grade you on those tests. They're like, no, go to the classroom you're supposed to be in. He's like, oh, my bad, I apologize. They're like, you're in the quarterback room, buddy. You're not supposed to be here. That's not his fault. This is all on Sean Payton. This is all on Sean
loves him,
Payton
by the way.
For
Who
deciding years ago that Taysom Hill you are trying to make him be something he's not. Again, people think I hate Taysom. I don't. I would love for the Chiefs to have Taysom Hill. I would love it. I think he is a super useful football player. He is playing out of position, though. I think Justin Tucker is the greatest kicker I've ever seen. But if he was playing tight end for the Ravens, he'd be awful. Wouldn't be his fault. He's just out of position. Taysom Hill's not a quarterback. And last night, Broussard, we saw evidence time and again. The guy's not a quarterback. He doesn't have the arm strength to make that throw. His decision-making on taking terrible sacks, not get out of field goal range, has been a problem forever. It's just not his thing. And he's 31 years old. It's not going to change. So I give him an N/A, not applicable grade, because he stumbled into advanced chemistry and they're like, buddy, you're supposed to be in handwriting class. It's down the hall, different building. So no. So N/A is my grade, Broussard.
Nick, that is worse than an F, what you just did. I mean, I don't even think you were trying to be nice, but if you were, that was worse than an F, what you just did to him. He's not a quarterback, all right? Now, look, if I was grading on heart, toughness, perseverance, he'd have a pretty grade. Look, Mike, I'm like you. I really like Taysom. I mean, Taysom Hill, in many ways, he is a very good football player. You guys know I'm big on the gauntlet, on all the skills. Taysom Hill is a very good football player. But I'm not grading on toughness and heart and all that. I'm grading on results, and so nobody else will say it. I guess I will. F. All right, he gets an F. Oh, I mean, 4 interceptions. Ouch. Three interceptions in a 4-minute stretch when the game's in the balance. All right, I love you, Taysom. Mike, you made some good points. You made me think about the F because, you're right. I think the only 4 guys or 4 times this year has a quarterback rush for over 100 yards, right? And Lamar's done twice. So that was impressive. The hurdle over DeMonte Casey was spectacular. He did some decent things. So you made me think about it. But at the end of the day, that game was winnable. And they're down 10, fourth quarter, and he throws 3 picks in 4 minutes to end it. And so I got to give him an F. Wilds.
Okay, so Mike, I'm going to try to bridge the gap here. When he got hurt, when he banged his finger, to me, I was like, oh, the ball's not coming out like it used to before he banged his finger. To the point, Trevor Siemian, I was like, oh, maybe we get some Trevor time in this game too. But then Sean Payton just stuck with Taysom, even though we saw that he wasn't effective. Every ball was low. He didn't have more interceptions earlier in the game, honestly, because if they were better thrown, Trayvon would have gotten 1 or 2 of them. It's actually, that was such a hard one to get. I thought it was going to be up here. It was actually just an inch from the ground. So here's the thing. We fell in love, and by we, I just mean you and I, fell in love with Taysom when he was in the platoon. It's oh, get a little Taysom, like the little part-time lover stuff. Hey, here we go. Get in and out. You're getting the game, you're out of the game. Oh, what's going to happen? But then once he becomes a starter, I feel like you lose the specialness of it. So why, this is what I wanted to happen. Tell me why it would work or would not work. I wanted to just go back to a halftime role with him. Get a little bit of Trevor. Here comes Taysom. What's going to happen? Now he's back out. Now Trevor's in. Is that too silly of a game plan? Because what happened last night didn't work.
Well, it's possible, Wiles. I mean, it depends on how you want to use the guy. But when you pay him that type of money, that's starter money. And
Right.
I'm pretty sure Taysom would look at his contract and he'd look at his paycheck every week and say, all right, look, I'm the guy that need the ball in my hands all the time, and it's a lot of responsibility on me in terms of what I got to do for this team at the quarterback position, based on my contract, based on what I'm making now. It would have been an opportunity to bring Trevor Siemian in and Taysom go back to the old ways, his old role, but that's not what we want to see right now. I want to see Taysom take that next step. I want to see him not look like a quarterback who hasn't played the game in a long time. I want to see Taysom come out, play fluent, run the offense, and give the Saints some production, which they really need right now. So he's going to be the focal point for the next couple games, and they got a schedule that's favorable, but he's going to have to step up to the plate.
The money is the key here, and I'll explain why in just a second, but I don't have the stats in front of me. Maybe Dusty can look them up. It is interesting that it's only 4 times a quarterback has rushed for 100 yards in a game this season. I'm interested in how many times a backup running back has rushed for 100 yards in a game, because that's what we saw last night. A backup caliber running back ran for 100 yards. So that's still impressive, but my guess it's happened more than 4 times. But the issue is the money. The issue is the money. And I'm not trying to count another man's money, but in a salary cap sport, money paid to player A is money that, by definition, you cannot pay to player B. Taysom Hill, in his career, has made $30 million. He is guaranteed another $20 million. That's $50 million in career earnings guaranteed. For context, Alvin Kamara, in his career, has made 20 and is guaranteed another 16. That's it. Now, Kamara will make more than that, assuming he doesn't get hurt, assuming nothing bad happens. But for the New Orleans Saints to guarantee Taysom Hill $50 million, which by definition, Broussard, means have $50 million of cap charges over a few-year period of time for Taysom Hill, is criminal. It's just an awful way to run a franchise. And so that's where my real frustration is on behalf of the Saints fans, because you have limited resources and you're allocating them improperly, Broussard.
I totally agree with you on the money, Nick. I mean, this is ludicrous. It is absolutely ridiculous. The last contract was. And this new extension is just crazy. All right, that said, where I disagree with you at is I want to see Taysom, and I hope the finger, we don't know exactly what it is. I hope it's not fractured or whatever. Like, I want to see him go out there and play quarterback for a full game, Wilds. I think he can play it for a full game if he's not injured on his throwing hand. All right, I think that was a big factor last night. I'm not saying he throws a great ball, but I do think he can play quarterback. He was 3-1. I know he had not the greatest stats, although he completed 70% of his passes. 3-1 last year as a starter. I want to see him play without the banged up throwing hand, and I think, Nick, he could be a lot more effective than you give him credit for.
All right, it's 5 straight losses for the Saints. See if they go with Taysom again next time up. Time for Nick to hand out some NBA medals now. All right, little Bucks Raptors. Giannis sat this one out. It was Fred VanVleet who was the star, 29 points. Raptors snapping Milwaukee's 8-game win streak. But FVV's 23 just missing out on a medal. We're going to do it across sports now. Nick, which 3 guys were your podium-worthy performers last night?
Apologies to Wichita State product Fred VanVleet. You just missed out. Why? Rule on the medal stand. Once your team gets to 18 or more wins in a row, someone from your team makes the medal stand every game. So Chris Paul, come on down. A pretty quiet 12-12. But no Devin Booker. You kept the winning streak alive. So Chris Paul, you get a bronze. Ayton had a little argument, but you were the best guy on the Suns last night as they get ready for the massive matchup tonight against Golden State. Silver medal. Bing bong, the Knicks are dead, as Wilds would say. There it is, DeMar DeRozan, 34-6 in a win at the Garden over the Knicks. An amazing clip of a Knicks fan sitting courtside. He's got the Knicks +2. You see him say to his buddy with his head in his hands, I just need a push. My friend, we've all been there. I know what you were thinking. Courtside seats are free if you bet on the right team. Unfortunately, now they cost you double because the Knicks lost by 4. DeRozan gets a silver and a gold. A whole team gets a gold. Unprecedented.
Wow.
But when you win by 73 points in an NBA game, everybody come on down. Hey, are the Grizzlies better without Ja Morant? No, just kidding. It's just the Thunder or giant Ponzi scheme. So there it is. There's your medal stand.
People
the
are
Grizzlies.
asking.
73-point win, Jenna. There's the podium from last night in the NBA.
And a great slate of games
Hard to
tonight.
argue.
You mentioned it, Suns Warriors.
Yep.
Also, Lakers Clippers. LeBron will be back in the lineup. Does that mean the Lakers are back to being the best team in the West? First things first, on a Friday. LeBron James now, who will be back with the Lakers sooner than we thought, announced yesterday LeBron tested negative for COVID twice over a 24-hour period. So all clear to return to action tonight at Crypto.com Arena. Rolls off the tongue, said no one ever, when the Lakers face the Clippers. Broussard, Lakers have been every bit of mediocre without LeBron this season. Are they back to being the team to beat in the West with LeBron back?
Great to see LeBron back, but no. All right, in the preseason, I said this. If you give me the choice of the Lakers or the field in the West, I'm going with the field. But if you force me to pick one team preseason, I would have picked the Lakers. But here's the thing. The field has blossomed into a wonderful rose garden with 2 beautiful flowers. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I think you know what I mean. And those 2 beautiful flowers are
perfect.
Right? The Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. I mean, those 2 teams are legit. All right, Phoenix, balanced. They got size. They got athleticism. They got a great floor general. They're well coached. They're athletic. Like everything. They got a score in Booker. And then Golden State, as great as they're already playing, they're getting back Klay Thompson and James Wiseman. So those 2 teams are the best in the West. I will say this about the Lakers, though. They are not like Denver, Portland, the Clippers without Kawhi, Nick, any of those teams, Dallas, that, have a sexy star or 2, but absolutely no hope of getting out of the West. The Lakers do have hope, all right? They're below those 2 teams I mentioned, but they do have, hope just because you got LeBron James and you've got Anthony Davis in his prime. And I would say Russell Westbrook, honestly, has fit in better than expected, especially over the last, couple of weeks. And their problem is defense, Nick. And I don't know how fixable that is because they're old and they're slow and they have trouble staying in front of guys. And offensively, LeBron's shooting too many threes. We'll see if he takes that down. But I give them a little chance because of LeBron and AD. But no, they are not close to being the favorites. It's Phoenix and Golden State.
So you keyed on their biggest issue, which is they have no one to defend the point of attack. Caruso's gone, KCP's gone, Kuzma, for all his warts, he's gone. They got rid of all their wing defenders. So that's been a problem, obviously. However, I think something very funny, dare I even say fishy, has been going on with the Lakers' perception.
Goodness.
And it is Wild's this. At the beginning of the year, people were not concerned enough. I started sounding the alarm after game 1, even though they were my pick to win the title. And now I feel like the concern has gone too far to, they can't compete with the Suns and Warriors. Right now, they don't deserve to be considered the favorite. But I do think they deserve to be considered the biggest threat to Phoenix, bigger than even Golden State.
Ooh,
because
wow.
I feel like we know if LeBron's out there, we know what we're getting from him. And we know what the best version of Anthony Davis looks like. The question is, can he tap back into it? The biggest issue for the Lakers thus far this season has been two things, both of which might be fixed. One was LeBron's lack of availability. Well, he was going to miss 10 days with COVID thing. We find out it's reportedly a false positive, so now he's back today. And the other is Vogel's insistence on coaching with his eyes closed and playing these massive lineups, most notably DeAndre Jordan, who Steve Nash, who no one has ever accused of being a brilliant coach, he figured out you can't play DeAndre Jordan 6 months ago. And Vogel, the reports are as of yesterday, they're going to Dwight and they're only going to play one center. That will fix a lot and give the Lakers time to figure out what their other best lineups are with DJ on the bench. I still think if we got a Warriors-Lakers matchup in round 2, I like the Lakers. I do not think the Warriors have an answer for Anthony Davis, and I do not think the Warriors have an answer for LeBron James. And while Russ has his warts, obviously, he's exhausting to deal with. And so now, can I sit here with a straight face and say right now I think the Lakers are better than the Suns? I cannot. But we are seeing the best of the Suns right now, and we have seen the worst of the Lakers. So I feel like right now you'd be kind of judging them through warped glasses. So are they the team to beat? No, that should be Phoenix. Do I think they present a bigger problem for Phoenix than Golden State? Yes, I do.
Okay, so here's my question, and I'll ask Broussard. When you talk about the Warriors and the Suns, and then we're like, maybe the Lakers should be in the mix, which one of these categories that I'm going to rattle off would you say, you know what? Advantage Lakers. Offense. No, Lakers are 23rd in offense. Defense. No, even though they hung their hat on defense, they are 15th in defense. Roster construction. No, I'd give that to Suns Warriors. Chemistry. Just overall feel of the team. Nope, still Suns and Warriors. How about coaching? Vogel, Monty Williams, Steve Kerr. No. How about just general vibe of the team? How about just like momentum and sort of attitude? Nope, I would still give that to Warriors and Suns. So I'm out here trying to find a reason. And Nick, you laid it out fine. But when you look at the big categories of what makes a championship team, I can't give a check mark next to the Lakers on any of them. Broussard, do you see something that I am missing? Because I just see that Warriors and the Suns are better at the Lakers at everything.
I see something gigantic that you are missing. And as Nick said, if the Lakers are at their best, and you know what it is? Whether they play Phoenix or Golden State, 2 of the 3 best players play for the Lakers. That's huge in basketball.
Yes.
Only 5 are out there. 2 of the 3, if the Lakers are at their best, if Anthony Davis gets back to what he was 2 years ago, if LeBron James, look, LeBron obviously is still great. But Nick, this is my concern with LeBron. Obviously, he's putting up big numbers still, but he doesn't dominate and control games consistently the way he always has. All right, the numbers look great, but he's not controlling the action. Right. Now, is that age, injury? I think it's more that, but could it be that he's not on the ball like he used to be? Right? He's not dominating the basketball where he can control the tempo for both teams and all of that like he used to be. So I'm not sure if that's it or not, but even though he puts up, he'll have a 27-point game, he's not dominating it the way he used. I think part of it, too, is he's shooting too many threes. He's 11th in the league in threes attempted. He needs to cut that down.
The other night when we were talking about the Bucks game, I think it was Bucks Nets. I don't quite remember what it was, but I said there was no point where I was worried the Bucks were going to lose because it just felt like, no, Giannis is not going to let his team lose that game. Yeah. That's the mode LeBron had been in for a decade at his best. He hasn't looked like that. And by the way, he didn't look like the post-injury last year. He never looked like that again. The reason I have a faith and a belief he still has that gear is because he looked like that the entire championship run. And while that was 2 seasons ago, it was 13 months ago. or 14 months ago. It was not so long ago that I think he can't still get there. And what I do know is this. If the Lakers play the Warriors in a series, it's not just that the Warriors have no answer for Anthony Davis's size, but I do think LeBron has a psychological edge over Golden State without Kevin Durant. And if the Lakers play the Suns in a series, I do know that last year it was different teams. I get that. They played in a series, and until AD got hurt, the Lakers were up 2-1. Lakers were up 2-1 and looked to be in control of the series. And then AD got hurt, and the thing goes sideways. Like that, and the Suns ended up mopping them up the final 3 games of the series. So again, the Lakers have a lot of work to do, but I think people were a little too high on them after the first week of the season and way too low on them right now. Because the other thing is, Broussard, there's only 3 teams in the West really ahead of them in the standings. It's Golden State, right, Phoenix, obviously, and Utah. Everyone else is around the same record.
Well, 2 things quickly, Nick. One, the Suns are much better than last year. And I know they were great last year. They're much better. Okay, that's number 1. So that's not going to be the team that the Lakers faced last year in the first round. And 2, I don't see how in the world you say that LeBron has a psychological edge over Golden State? How? I get it, KD's not there, but they did beat LeBron without KD in 2015. So I don't buy into this psychological edge that LeBron has over the Warriors at all. I'm not saying they have a psychological edge over him, but it doesn't go the other way either.
All right, Lakers play tonight. They got the Clippers. LeBron back in action. We'll see how they do. Got to get back to some Thursday night football from last night. Did the Cowboys look like Super Bowl contenders in their win over the Saints? We'll toss that around next. This is First Things First. We learned yesterday Antonio Brown has been suspended 3 games after a league investigation concluded that AB misrepresented his vaccination status by bringing a fake vax card to training camp. Safety Mike Edwards and free agent John Franklin were also given the same 3-game punishment for doing the same thing. All 3 players are now reportedly vaccinated and have accepted the discipline handed down with no plans to appeal. Hey, Chris Broussard, what was I'll ask it this way. Was the 3-game suspension enough?
All right, Jenna, when this news first broke that indeed Antonio Brown did buy a fake vaccination card, I was under the impression that he went through basically this whole season fooling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with his fake card. All right, and fooling his teammates and everybody and all that. And if that were the case, I thought he should be suspended for the entire season. All right, but the investigation showed that he went to camp with the fake card with the intention of fooling everybody, including obviously the organization that brought him in and really resurrected his career. And then someone told him, hey, if you do that, it's a felony and you could be in big trouble. And then he basically didn't go through with the plan and instead got vaccinated and everything was good from that point on. So I think now with that information out that the 3 games is appropriate. It's not a huge punishment because he's going to miss the next 2 games anyway with his ankle injury and heel injury. So now he'll have to miss 1 more game. You can't punish a guy. He had bad intentions, but he didn't go through with them. And even if he didn't go through with them for the wrong motives, all right, out of fear rather than, you know what, this isn't the right thing to do, he still didn't go through with them. So, Nick, look, no, but he did. I think the 3 games is appropriate.
But Broussard, he did go through with them. He just then went back and got vaccinated. I mean, he robbed a bank, but then gave the money back. Like, he still presented the fake vaccination card, and then when we realized how much trouble he could be in, reportedly, allegedly, went and got vaccinated. My answer is no. It's not a harsh enough penalty. First of all, he's made $80 million in career earnings. His salary this year is $900,000. 3 game checks about $160,000. Now, one would think that's not really going to hurt him. Now, given the fact that all of this stems from the fact that he allegedly stiffed a chef out of $10K. Maybe AB's hurting for money in a way I don't know, so maybe the financial penalty will hurt him a bit. But as Broussard mentioned, he was going to miss this time either way. He was, or at least 2 of the 3 games. They had announced he was going to be out with the ankle injury. The question I would have is this. At what point is the juice not worth the squeeze for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Even if the NFL is going to say that his penalty along with the safety Mike Edwards penalty is 3 games, what Mike Edwards doesn't have is a long history of awful behavior. And we can't say the awful behavior ended the moment he got with Tom Brady and the Bucs, because even last year there was the report of him destroying that security camera or the gate at the guard stand right around the time Tampa was signing him. There's now him stiffing a chef out of money, which I don't know if that's criminal or civil, but it's obviously poor behavior. And what the NFL's investigation did find was that he committed a federal offense. Having a fake vax card, whether you agree it should be or not, it's a federal crime. Why do the Bucs, who otherwise, by the way, have a team of really likable, rootable guys? Brady's one of the most popular athletes in the world. He's only really polarizing because he wins so much. Gronk is universally beloved. Vita Vea is adored. Sue is a tough guy on the field, off the field, one of the most respected guys in the sport. They got all these guys, Bruce Arians, who, by the way, is a cancer survivor, Tom Moore, who's 83 years old, that in the interim between AB having the fake vax card and then actually getting vaccinated, put all them at risk. Why, Broussard, do the Bucs want to be associated with this guy? He has shown who he is time and time and time again. Do they think they need him that badly? I don't. I don't think he's worth it.
They want to be associated with him, Nick, because he can play football. He's a great wide receiver. And I'm with you. Maybe they could win it without him. But that's why he's here. And I can't defend Antonio Brown's character at all. And I won't. Okay, because you mentioned a lot of the things that he's done. Even before this, you could question whether or not he should be with the Buccaneers. I get all of that. But look, you're right. The Buccaneers have a lot of good guys. But if we look around the league, let's keep it real. There are a lot of guys who've done some heinous stuff in the NFL, and they're still playing. So I can't just single out Antonio Brown when you've got guys with histories of domestic violence and all types of stuff playing in the NFL, and we're celebrating them.
No,
right, but there's others too. That's my point. If you're going to start kicking guys out of the league because of bad characters, then we're going to have a long list, not just Antonio Brown.
Absolutely, but at some point, Broussard, isn't there a 7 strikes and you're out policy? Isn't after your long
I think he's at
list
5.
Okay, 5 strikes and you're out. Yeah,
I think
that's my point, though.
strikes.
This is like it is amazing to me that if the NFL's investigation and Antonio Brown is not appealing it, their determination was you procured and at least for a time used a forged vaccination card. That is against federal law. The question I would have to Bruce Arians, I would have 2 questions to Bruce Arians. The first one is this. If when you signed Antonio Brown, we told you at some point he's going to commit a federal crime and not even argue he didn't, are you going to stick by him? I think his answer would have been no, we're not going to, but they are. And my second question to Bruce Arians would be this. Who's in charge? Because you were on the record you don't want Antonio Brown, and then you brought him in. You were on the record, we're at 100% vaccination, but you weren't, at least to the degree we had thought. And then you were on the record a week and a half ago, this is a non-story, but it was. So Bruce Arians, who everybody likes and I have massive respect for, are you in control of your own roster? Or does Brady get a carve-out for his old roommate who's just a bad dude? And just real quick before you answer, I want to say so I don't seem like a hypocrite. The reason I'm not killing Mike Edwards on this is because Mike Edwards doesn't have a history of bad behavior. Mike Edwards in this instance did the same thing Antonio Brown did reportedly, but he doesn't have a long list of reasons for me to think he's a bad guy. So I don't believe you should be kicked out for one bad act necessarily, but at some point enough's enough.
Look, I think I don't know that we know the answer to this, right? But a big thing to me is, when did he go ahead and make the decision, you know what? I'm not going to go through with this fake COVID card. All right. I mean, was it a couple of days? Was it the first day? Or was it 2 months? If it was a long period of time, that's a different story. But I'm kind of, from the report, under the impression that he gets to camp and somebody tells him, look, man, you better not go through with this. And he goes ahead and gets vaccinated right away. And I think that's different, Nick. So look, like I said, if he fooled his team and organization all season up until this investigation, then I think he should be suspended the rest of the season. But if the report says he got vaccinated, that's why the Buccaneers were so adamant. Look, he's vaccinated. It's legitimate. Then he had bad intentions. He decided against it, maybe not for the wrong motives or with the right motives, but he didn't end up going through with his terrible plan. I think 3 games is sufficient.